Welcome back to Local Decision. Thank you for joining us. I'm Rusty Ray. We're joined now by Spring Lake Park City Council member Barbara Goodboe Bisschoff. Thank you for coming back and seeing us, Barbara.
Well, thank you for asking me, and
Sure.
I hope it goes really well.
I do too, and I know it will. You're running again for City Council. Tell us more about your time so far serving the city, or tell us more about yourself.
Okay, I'm running for re-election,
Right.
because I am on the council right now. But I would like to give you a little bit of a bio about me first, and
Okay.
then you can start your questions.
Great.
Okay. I've held this seat for 4 years. I grew up in Spring Lake Park. I graduated from Spring Lake Park, attended university here and in Illinois. Then I moved out of state for 30 years. My family retained a home here that they built in 1954, which I am living in currently, thank God. I mean, it's a lovely home. While I was away, I was a thoroughbred trainer. I worked for three Chicago law firms. I dealt in real estate investment, owned and managed an antique store. I lived all over the country, traveled an awful lot. Then a few years ago, I decided to come back to Spring Lake Park. I wanted to be with my family, near my family. I have a very small family. But I want to tell you something about the history, part of my history. We came to Spring Lake Park in 1954. They were building the high school. My sister was on the band, and she played clarinet. And at the time, the fledgling band did not have money for the uniforms. So my dad, Frenchie, and the conductor of Spring Lake Park High School Band, that was Raymond Sandell, they got together and they figured out a way to make money. My dad designed the Spring Lake Park Panther, and then he also designed bumper stickers, and they sold these door to door. And I want to show you something. This is where the whole thing came from, home of the Park Panthers, right there.
Excellent.
So, to me, that's very important history of my family.
Well, a lot of history in the city, and you've certainly, in your time there, whether you were away and came back and noticed, or in the time that you've been back, you've seen some changes in Spring Lake Park, and would you call that tremendous change over the years or not?
A lot of changes. When I was first here, it was there was farms, about a bunch of farms. There was the Gallagher Horse Farm and Dump, which I loved going to the dump actually with my dad. I mean, it's kind of a big deal. And I would sneak away and ride horses actually and get bit because that's what Shetland ponies bite. And then there was also Albrecht's Farm, and the street that I live on actually was like a cow path at the time. So I was here, I was raised during all that period of time, and it felt like being out in the country. It was not even a suburbs like it is today. It was country. And Northtown actually is built on the Gallagher dump. So
Okay. Okay. In the time that you've been on council, there's been some major developments. I know that Hy-Vee is a big topic of conversation, and we're very, very close to hopefully it opening.
Yeah.
Also something that you and when Mayor Nelson was here the other day mentioned the memory care unit on Osborne. Soon will open. I don't believe it's open yet. Is that right?
No, we just finished the deal on that. We signed it 2 weeks ago.
Okay. So it's a ways off, but do you feel like those particular properties represent the kind of development that Spring Lake Park should continue to pursue? It's nearly fully developed as a city, and there's not much land to have, but there is chances for redevelopment. Is that the kind of redevelopment that you feel is important for the city?
Well, I want to tell you about this first. 4 years ago, when I was running for council, I was on a group. I was also with a group called Save Our Hospital. And at the time, we were trying to keep unity as unity. And what happened was that Alina actually purchased Unity Hospital for $1. And the board, the North Suburban Hospital Board, had to dissolve. And Unity was actually a concept of this one lady. And for 50 years, there were 5 cities, Spring Lake Park, Blaine, Hilltop, Mounds View, Fridley, that all paid in. Every year we paid in to build this hospital and keep it going. So that's all, the residents funded this hospital. Anyway, this board controlled all this money, millions of dollars and a lot of land. And I started going to the board meetings in 2016 before I even got on council. And afterward, I continued going because I found out that when they decided to dissolve this board, that this money would be split up. So I didn't go for the council. I went for myself. I wanted to make certain that we got a good amount because there were 4 or 5 different ways they could divide it. And then one day, the chairman of the board, Jerry, he was talking and he said, you know, we have this piece of property in Spring Lake Park. It's right across from the hospital. It's 3 acres. It's between Osborne Apartments and Unity Hospital, and its appraised value is $750,000. And he said, you know, I wonder if Spring Lake Park would be interested in taking that piece of property. And I heard this and I said, okay. I had been in real estate investment, and I knew at that point that Spring Lake Park was only supposed to get about $450,000 when they split up all this money. Anyway, I contacted Dan, who's the city administrator, and I said, Dan, you got to get this property. We need this property. I mean, it's valued at $750. We're only going to get $450. That's big.
Right.
And every time I saw him or saw our lawyer, I kind of buttonholed them, get the land. Anyway, we got the land, made this deal. We sat on it for 2 years, made this deal. That land is going to net us over $300,000 more than if we would have taken the cash settlement. All the other cities took a cash settlement. We took the land. We made over $300,000 more on that land. And then we also have this memory care unit coming in, and that's going to give us good property tax. Sorry, I'm so
No, it's okay. Well, there's important context there, and your knowledge of that, I think, is pretty important. So that's good to share that.
Yeah.
As we look at things right now, cities like Spring Lake Park receive chunks of federal money to help businesses, the CARES Act.
Right.
And the city council was able to help solicit businesses who want, I should say that the wrong way, businesses were able to apply for money that they needed. And how important is that for the city to be able to take this money to help those businesses in a time of need? Even if it's only a handful of businesses, it makes a difference?
Well, right now, we're giving 10 businesses $10,000 each. And that may go up depending on how we distribute this money. But we also use that money for, you know, if there's possibly somebody that is sick within our community that we can give that money to, or within, we're able to do this, which is really good. And we have to do it by the end of the year. We have to have this knocked down and given. But it's absolutely very essential. And we don't have to go into a general fund now.
Right. When Mayor Nelson was here, he talked about the work that was done before, during, and still with COVID, even as a complication, the work that was done to keep the budget at a certain way and to keep taxes at a certain rate, not only increasing a small percentage in a small city like this, given the obstacles that a COVID can have on the economy or the ability to do business regularly. Do you feel like that's been an important process with the city and an important process for city council to go through to make sure that residents still get the services that they need, but also keeping the burden on them low, if not existent, at least a little bit at a time?
Well, our tax levy this time is going to be 2.2% or lower.
Right.
And I know I've heard in other cities like Mounds View, it's going to be about 4%, Blaine 7%. So keeping it 2.2 or below is very significant. We do have, everything is done in-house in Spring Lake Park. We have a phenomenal police department. SBM Fire is right down the street, and they've been taking care of us for 75 years, 76 years, because they just celebrated their anniversary last year, and they're a remarkable group and very well respected. We have great staff, and when this whole thing started with COVID, they immediately jumped on it, and we shut City Hall down real fast, and we were Zooming in from home. I mean, this was all a new concept for all of us, and that was great for we did this for 3 months. I wish we could have continued it because I liked it.
It's comfortable.
A lot of fun.
Sure.
A lot of fun. And then our public works, they are remarkable. In the summer, our streets are swept clean. In the winter, plowed. And if you go outside the border of Spring Lake Park, you see it immediately. I mean, people always say, you see it, you know it. And, we're a small community. We're 2.1 square miles. I mean, we're tiny. But we have everything. And Parks and Rec has fabulous opportunities for seniors, for senior trips, for children. I mean, it's amazing what this town, this town could be out in the middle of greater Minnesota someplace, just sitting there. I mean, we have absolutely everything. It's an amazing town. It always has been. And a lot of it is because Spring Lake Park High School, that is so, it was born in 1954, and it has continued as a phenomenal high school. And young families, they want to be here because they can buy a house, and it's expensive, but not that expensive, and they can have their kids here, and it's nice. It's a nice community.
Certainly somebody in your position who's served on city council and would like to continue at least another 4 years, would like to see all of those things you just mentioned continue. But is there anything you personally either began in your first term that you want to see continue or expanded should you continue to serve on council, or is there something you didn't get to just because of COVID or anything else that came up development-wise that you would want to see started or to happen in a second term?
Well, I'm on the traffic, the Trunk Highway 65 Corridor Coalition. And this is very important. And we've kind of wrapped up, this is MnDOT and Anoka Highway. And so this has been going on for a period of years, that we have to have a safe, 65 has got to be safe, first of all, good access, have to be careful with the businesses along there. And there's all these things about, should we put bridges, should we add more lanes, this whole thing. And they've kind of, they've got it all together now. In fact, people can go online and go to Anoka County and then Highway 65 and see what's happening, because it's virtually, it's there now to take a look. And one of the big problems in Spring Lake Park has always been flooding. And we started a study about 4 years ago, and 2 years ago we found out there were 5 major areas that will flood when with the excessive storm water. We started one of them last year. We went through the open meetings, everything, and I'll tell you something, I was never ever in favor of this one, because what happened was, it's called Garfield Pond, Retention Pond. And it's more like a tiny small lake. It's on 81st, it's very close to City Hall. And to me, I wanted it dredged out. I wanted the banks reinforced, right around, with cement, bricks, whatever, reinforced, but I wanted it dredged. But what happened was, they did a clear cut of enormous amount of trees in order to put in a 3-foot pipe from Garfield Pond to Spring Lake. To me, the pond has always been contaminated. if you look at it now, it's contaminated. I don't like it. I've never cared for it. But it went through, and we've had nothing but complaints about this whole thing now. It's a shame. It's an absolute shame, but they put in an infiltration bench, which is basically a whole bunch of sand. But when you have stormwater propelling like it does, it just goes right over it, and you end up with this water going towards Spring Lake. And I don't know. To me, it just isn't the way to do it. But we are on to the next one, which is over on between Pierce and Fillmore. And I just hope we get enough that we do this a lot better. I've suggested that we go out there and paint on the grass how big this is going to be, what trees have got to come down before anything like that is done, so people really understand the significance of doing something like that. I mean, I'm big into conservation. I mean, when somebody says I want to cut down a tree, it's like, stay away from me. I mean, that's just how I am.
Okay. I'm sorry that we have to leave it there. That's the time that we have today.
Oh, my goodness.
But you covered a lot, and we appreciate you coming back, Barbara.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Bye.